great success. We got an Arizona Corporation Commissioner elected, Sandra Kennedy. We got the Superintendent of Public Education, Kathy Hoffman, elected. We elected a U.S. Senator, first woman U.S. Senator from Arizona, Kristen Sinema. But one of those statewide elections turned out to be probably the most crucial and significant of all of them, and that's Katie Hobbs being elected as Secretary of State. You know, we could not have asked for someone to be better at that job than we had in 2020. This was an election that has been scrutinized and turned upside down and inside out. Every audit, every recount, there has been nothing found except that Katie Hobbs ran the best, most secure election Arizona has ever seen. And you can quote Doug Ducey on that. So I don't know what Katie Hobbs has in store for us coming down the road, but based on what I know of Katie, and I've known her for a while, and what I've seen from what she's done, I'm on team Katie Hobbs from here on. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs.
Except I don't think she's in the room.
She is. I see her.
There she is. Okay, yay. I didn't see you. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, thank you, Ralph, for that amazing introduction. And thank you so much for having me tonight. So I don't know how much time I have, but I would love to talk about this election that never ends. If there's time for questions, I am more than happy to take your questions. So let me just start with the election. So, and I will, if you've heard me anytime in the last 2 years since I've been in this office, which I know that you have heard me talk about the importance of partnership. And when I got here to the Secretary of State's office, it was one, and I knew that it was lacking before I got here because I had watched how the previous secretary operated, and that she did not operate in partnership with the county election officials or with any of the organizations that were working on voter engagement or outreach. And I knew that that was something we had to correct and something that I got to work right away to try to fix. And we spent the first year of my administration going around the state, visiting all of the county elections officials and working to start that relationship and build that relationship, because elections are a partnership. They're a partnership between our office, between the county elections officials, between the organizations that work in the election space, and between the voters. And we knew that we had to work really hard to regain the voters' trust in our office. And so we set out to do that. And I will tell you, going into 2020, we knew that it was going to be a critical election year. And that's not to undermine any other election years. They're all critical and they have critical outcomes. But that the spotlight was really going to be on Arizona because we had moved to that battleground status. And so that investment in partnership really paid off because, you know, knowing all that we knew about the 2020 election, we certainly didn't know that we were going to be doing it in the middle of a global pandemic. So investing in partnership really paid off. And it ensured that we are able to execute 3 successful elections in the state of Arizona where voters did not have to choose between their fundamental right to vote and their health and safety. And I am so proud of the work that we did to ensure that that happened. So as I said, we started early in 2019, building that partnership. And then heading into the presidential preference election in March, that was really when the pandemic was sort of hitting the ground in Arizona. We had pressure from folks trying to get us to postpone the election. And we knew that there would never be a guarantee that there was going to be a safer time to hold the election. And we knew that we had to do it in March and that it had to happen on March 17th when it was originally scheduled, because we didn't know when there would be a safer time. And we worked with the county election officials to ensure that they had the supplies they needed and that voters could vote safely. And we did that, and that laid the groundwork and kind of helped us learn the lessons that we needed for the primary in August and the general election in November. We started to partner with the governor's office to ensure that we had the resources that we needed to get those supplies that the counties needed so voters could vote safely. Our office purchased over 84 additional ballot drop boxes so that counties had secure ballot drop boxes for voters to have an alternative to mailing their ballots back. We were able to get hand sanitizer and cleaning supplies and masks and face shields and gloves to all the counties so that they had supplies to ensure that voters could vote safely and that election workers would be kept safe. We worked to ensure that every single voter who is not already on the permanent early voter list received a permanent early voter list application, or at least knew that they had the ability to request a ballot by mail so that they could do so. And then we worked to ensure that there were other early voting options for voters, and voters exercised those early voting options in ways that we have not seen in previous elections. And I think that this is a testament to the trust that voters have in our early voting system and the trust that they had in election officials to make sure that they could vote safely. So I am so proud of the work that we did. It was not our office alone. It was in partnership with all of the county election offices. We also partnered with tribal communities. As you know, tribal communities were particularly hard hit by the pandemic, and tribal communities tend to take a lot of pride in showing up as a community to vote on election day. And we wanted to make sure that they could do that early and lessen the impact of, having all those people there on one day. And we worked closely with the, particularly the counties on the Navajo Nation, Apache, Coconino, and Navajo, to make sure that they had additional early voting options for tribal members. And that was reflected in the election results. The tribal turnout was off the charts. And we know that had an impact in the election outcomes in our state. I was on a lot of national news following the election because there was some controversy about the election results in Arizona. And I can tell you that I stand 100% behind the elections that we executed. I know that they were 100% above board, and I stand 100% behind the election results that we certified, because I know that there is no problem with the election results that we certified. And we've seen court case after court case after court case thrown out because it had no merit. And we just saw the most recent results of the audits that were conducted in Maricopa County. And I could have told you ahead of time, I could have saved everybody a lot of money and said, there's not going to be any findings from those audits. And of course there weren't. And I also knew that those audit results were not going to satisfy the naysayers of the election, that the people who want to find something wrong with the election are not going to be satisfied with audits that don't find any problems. But I know that there weren't any problems. So we have a lot of things in place in our state to provide transparency to voters, to illustrate the process and how it works. And our office invested close to $5 million in a public education campaign to tell voters how elections work and how to vote safely, and like how the process works. And the legislature right now is trying to take the ability for us to do that away so that we can inform voters. They're trying to hamper voters' ability to vote by mail, and they're trying to basically undermine the will of the voters by allowing them to change the presidential election results by seating their own electors. And so that's what we're seeing right now in the legislature, and that is all based on the misinformation that we've seen coming out of this election. But at the end of the day, our election in Arizona was safe and secure and accurate. And I am here to tell you 100% that that is the case. People are entitled to opinions, but they are not entitled to their own set of facts. And the facts are that our election in Arizona went for Joe Biden and went for Mark Kelly. And I'm sorry that people are upset about that, but they have an opportunity to come back in 2 years or 4 years and try to come back with a different outcome. So I will leave it there, and I will be happy to answer questions.
I know that you've got a website where you're taking some donations. I'd like to encourage everybody to do that. Any plans beyond running for Secretary of State again, or is it too soon to even talk about that?
Well, I will tell you that I will 100% be on the ballot in 2022, which is our next election. I'm not ready to publicly announce what office that will be, but I will say that anything you do today will help me in whatever efforts I do in 2022. And that it is really, really important to keep the Secretary of State office in Democratic hands. And I am committed to ensuring that we do that.
So I encourage everybody to go to that website and help us at least keep the Secretary of State office in the Democratic column, and maybe nudge another office into the Democratic column in 2022. So, and we're going to be working to help both of those offices stay and one to get in Democratic hands and the other one stay that way. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Katie, how was it talking to Rachel Maddow and all of those MSNBC people? We watched you every night. You seem pretty smooth.
It was surreal. It was not necessarily something I anticipated as an outcome of this election. But yeah, no, I was on with Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer. Wolf Blitzer called me his friend. So yeah, no, it was really cool. And I am really proud of, again, the work that my team did to ensure that we were able to represent Arizona in a really positive light. And all the feedback that I've gotten since the election has indicated that that is what we were able to do. So I'm very proud of that.
Katie,
Well deserved, no doubt
Mary
about it.
Gerard. Hi, Katie. This may be the last time can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. This may be the last time. Thank you very much. It was great knowing you, and sorry I'm leaving you guys for another state. But the question was, I didn't know about all the bills in the legislature. What is the chance and what's going on, and what do you think is going to ultimately happen? Are we going to get these passed? Are they sitting in committee and they don't have a chance? I mean, what's going on there?
Well, my office is certainly utilizing every tool in our toolbox to help to defeat the bad bills. I mean, I think a lot of the really egregious stuff that we've seen has been somewhat of a distraction to distract us from the stuff that's actually getting through. So the thing that I'm most concerned about is Michelle Ugenti-Rita's bill that will actually take the permanent out of the permanent early voting list. It will purge voters. And so people have talked a lot about the purge. So it would remove voters from the permanent early voting list if after 2 elections that they don't use their mail-in ballot. So if they vote, but they vote early in person, or they vote in person on election day, but they're on the Pebble, that they would get removed from the Pebble. But it would also require voters to renew their status on the Pebble every election. And so that's basically defeats the purpose of creating the Pebble in the first place. County recorders were instrumental in getting the Pebble implemented because they were processing requests from the same voters every single election year to receive an early ballot. And so the Pebble took out a huge administrative burden on them, and also a burden on voters in terms of being able to get their ballot by mail without having to request it every single election. And so that is the most concerning bill. But there are certainly others. There was a bill that was introduced that would allow the legislature to override the will of the voters in the presidential election and allow the legislature to choose their own electors under any circumstances following the presidential election. That bill did not get even assigned to a committee, but then there was a David Gowan striker that proposed a similar result. And I'm not sure that was heard in committee yesterday or today. I'm not sure the status of that.
No, he withdrew it.
Okay, so I can't imagine the governor would sign that if it got to him, but there are some other concerning bills that I'm worried that the governor would sign that undermine vote by mail in particular.
Thank you. And thank you for.
Debbie Burdett, you have a question?
I just wanted to first off say thank you. You've done us proud in this state. Having lived here since January 1980, I've been embarrassed so many times by people in political office, but you've really held us up. And I just wanted to say thanks. Really appreciate you, and pray for your protection, as well as so many of the others who faced ridiculous threats when you're just doing your job. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Oh,
All right. Well, thank you, Katie. And I want to say one other thing. Should Katie decide to run for another office, her experience in the state legislature, as well as Secretary of State, really makes her uniquely qualified to move into an executive, to run for an executive office in Arizona. And you know, we're open to helping you
being
wherever
a Sun
you go.
Devil social worker.
What? Oh, and
Also, she's a Sun Devil social worker.
All right.
Oh, cool.
So we're open to whatever you're open to, Katie. We're on your side. Let us know how we can help, and we will.
thank you. And I will say, in deference to my bachelor's degree alma mater, NAU, I'm actually a lumber devil. But I also have, my daughter now is at the U of A, so I've got all 3 state universities covered in terms of being a statewide office holder. So I feel better about that situation.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Katie.
Thanks.
You're
for
welcome to
having me.
stay, but if you need to go, we understand.
Okay.
A little bit about some Mark Finchem stuff, but before we get to that, I asked Dave Coward to bring us up to date on what's going on with the Paul Gosar situation and what we need to do and how we can help. So, Dave?
Sure. Betty, can I share a screen?
Oh,
It up in Yavapai County with the people up there. And initially we were thinking about trying to recall him. But after talking to some lawyers, they said it's probably not feasible. So our other option then was to go with the 14th Amendment, which calls for Congress can expel one of their members. So we all kind of know about Paul Gosar, but I want to share this, see if this video works. I might give you a little update. work with our Arizona Democratic delegation in Congress and other Congress people to try to implement the 14th Amendment. But we're out, the other track is that we're going after his major donors. And like that video was talking about, the American Dental Association is one of his prime sponsors. So we're asking people to contact the ADA. Either you can send them a tweet, you can go to your Facebook and also use this hashtag. You can call the American Dental Association, and we have been doing that, and they've been telling us that they've heard, they're getting a lot of calls, because what we're trying to do is embarrass the ADA so they'll stop funding him. So we'll try to take away his funding source for, if we can't get him out of Congress, it'll make it harder for him to run for office. So if you have a couple of minutes, if you could do those kind of things, that would help. If you've got 10 more minutes, you can call your local friendly dentist, which I don't know if that's such a good idea. You don't want to piss off your dentist, but anyways. And there's also a statewide chapter of the ADA. In fact, last Thursday, we had a day of action, and a bunch of us picketed Gosar's office up here in Gold Canyon. They also did it in his Prescott office. And we also picketed the Arizona ADA chapter in Scottsdale. And we're working with the Indivisible group up in Chicago and Washington, D.C. to try to picket their national headquarters as well. So we're reaching out nationally. I mean, we've gotten press in the LA Times and Washington Post and other places. So we've got a pretty good media push out there. But we're just asking people to just call the ADA and say, hey, you really want to fund this guy? Really? You want to do that? And some of his other funding source is the American Association of Pediatric Dentistry, and also the people that do the oral surgeon stuff. So we've got a two-prong approach to the program. Well, like I said, we're trying to we hope Congress could have some sense to kick him out, and they are doing some investigations, so maybe he'll get caught up in that. So we're hoping that, but if that doesn't work, we're going after his funding sources. So that's our plan.
And anyone can sign that petition regardless.
Yes, that petition is nationwide. We want to try to get like 100,000 signatures nationwide, because it takes 2/3 vote, So we're going to need to push it nationally. So, but it's a long shot. We don't know if we can do it, but I think we can affect his funding sources, though.
Bobby, you had a question?
Yes, I think that is an excellent plan, but I just wanted to share with Dave that I watched several times the film clip of him giving his speech about right before they closed out the talking and they all left. And I actually think there's something wrong with him physically.
He's got a neurological type thing, yeah, like Parkinson's.
Because he's got something like that, and a lot of those, Miss Physician Assistant, a lot of them are they have dementia attached to them. So I really think that probably there's something, he's just short of going over the load. Is he doing any dental work at all anymore? Did he close his office?
So. No.
Okay.
I think it comes
I just
from
want
too many people's minds with his super spidey dental talents.
Well, even though he may be ill and he may not even run again, I think we need to send a message that these people cannot get away with what they're doing. So that we need to
Right.
hit them where it hurts. And I think that's basically their funding source. And that maybe that's something that we could go after Leach with too, is find his major funding sources and make an effort to go after them. To say, you really want to support this guy?
Yeah.
Really? This nutcase? Really? So anyway, so that's what we're doing with Gosar.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to mention, because Sharon said she hadn't seen some of the bills that were up. There's a couple of places that we make sure you get those. We send out emails, and Betty Voss does a fantastic job with spreading those emails and putting out our newsletter. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that is Betty Voss doing that, although I sometimes ask her to send some content, but she does that. And then Debbie Broom does a fantastic job. If you haven't been to our website lately, demsofcasagrande.org, please go visit that website. Debbie Broom does a fantastic job. She keeps it changing, and there's always new stuff on there. You can find out who your legislators are and how to contact them, what bills are in the state legislature that need your action. If you're on a request to speak and you want to get more updates on what's in committee and when you can use request to speak, send an email to our email address, demsofcasagrande@gmail.com, and I'll put you on our alert list. We don't send that out to everybody every time, but those of you that are on my alert list, I send that out. While the legislature's in session, sometimes you'll get 2 or 3 in one day, and then it'll be a couple of days, and then you'll get another 2 or 3. Those come out pretty regularly. We access the Secular Coalition, Civic Engagement Beyond Voting, AEA, the Arizona Education Association, and some other organizations, Planned Parenthood. And when bills are out that are in committee that we need you to call your legislator or use request to speak, we send those alerts out.
Hey, Ralph, can I mention that up here in Northern Pinal, we have a Zoom meeting every Monday morning at 10 o'clock where we get together and we go over the bills that are coming up this week and try to strategize, if we have to call, but after bills get out of committee, the RTS you can't use. So the only option is to start calling people. So I found that to be valuable because and what I really recommend to people is there's so many bills out there. It's like drinking from a fire hose. So I recommend to people that if there's
request to list a thing just from the last couple of weeks, so you can see.
So I would focus, if you're focused on education, then do that. If it's on voter suppression, look at those bills. But we can't do everything. But if we all kind of pick our poison and go with it, that's kind of the way to go, because it's overwhelming.
It can be overwhelming, but the thing is, they are right back going after increasing vouchers, ESAs for private schools again, after we voted by nearly 2-1 to vote down Proposition 305. They're right back with that. They're looking at a million different ways to circumvent 208, Proposition 208, the funding measure for public schools. We have a majority of Arizona voters that stand for things, and then a minority presence, just by one. They have a majority in the House and in the state Senate, and they destroy everything that we worked for over the last year. It's nonstop. It really is. All right, so quickly with the Finchem thing, Betty, if you would put that up. So here's what Pima County is doing, and I encourage you to chip in. Pima County is putting up a billboard, and this is what the billboard looks like. So they need to raise $3,200 or more to help do this. So I will put the Pima County website up in the chat. send them some money. You don't have to send them a lot of money, but send them something. Show them that you support getting rid of Mark Finchem. So you can take that out. Yeah, thanks. So as far as the recall goes, I have no information. I hate to put it that way, but it's true. The people that are running everything, that have taken over pretty much from what Debbie Broom and I started, have been not forthcoming with what they're doing, except to say that more will be revealed. So I don't know who's actually running things. I don't know if and when they're gonna actually file an official recall committee, if they're gonna raise money for it. If they're gonna ask for volunteers, I have no idea. So they're not answering any specific questions.
Would they be arresting him?
So, and if you follow in the news, there's more and more information coming out, and he's being investigated. He's on the news today. Karen Bass, Representative Karen Bass, was talking about state legislators who were at the Capitol filming the insurrection and involved. And Mark Finchem, we know, was there. So if there's any specific information that does come out, I will certainly pass it along. The website is recallfinchem.com, but they have not pulled a trigger on any official action with a recall. We got LD 11 to get ethics committee complaints filed, but Becky Nutt, the chair of the ethics committee, rejected all of that, so that went nowhere. And they're not gonna expel him. That would take a 2/3 vote. They would all vote with him anyway, so they're not going to have that happen. So but
Ralph, wouldn't, if he got investigated and got charged and got indicted, wouldn't that do the job? What's the Arizona law for that? So, what would have to happen legally for him to be booted?
Even indictment, they would not trigger an expulsion. He could resign, but he would have to actually be convicted. Then that would trigger an expulsion, but indictment doesn't. So, and it's a long way off. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you informed if I do find out anything. So today there was a Zoom meeting with the Pinell County Democratic Party Communications Committee, and I couldn't be on that. So I asked Roger Oleson, who is the chair of our Community Outreach Committee, to sit in on that, and Roger agreed to fill us in with an update on what transpired today at that Pinell County meeting.
Okay, the purpose of the meeting today was to announce the formation of a communications committee for Pinell County Democrats. And the committee would be responsible for developing messaging that keeps party members up to date and the public informed about our core values. In this, the local PCPs, the precinct persons, are going to have a vital role. So we're also going to be looking at programs for recruiting and training PCPs. This committee will be looking to start with for 8 to 10 people to serve as advisors and people who have specific skills in areas such as graphics, websites, and social media. And then once the basics are set up, there will be plenty more opportunities for other people to get involved in specific projects. That's kind of the basis of what we talked about today.
So do you know, did they discuss anything about electing a new chair?
There's going to be I believe it was March 25th meeting, which is Thursday, and that's likely to conflict with our monthly meeting. I believe that's when there's going to be a meeting to try to elect a new chair.
Where's the meeting going to be held?
Zoom.
Oh, on Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. On Zoom.
Don't they have to let people know a certain period of time beforehand before they go ahead and do that?
Yeah, that's in the bylaws. They have to announce that, Dave, do you know what is that, 14 days before the,
Something like 10 to 14 days, yeah.
so if you're a Pinell County PC, you will get an email, you should get an email notifying you that there will be an election. So I put in the chat for everyone to see the Pima County website, so that you, if you want to, you can go on there and make a contribution to the billboard sign to embarrass Mark Finchem and to let everybody know he was part of the insurrection. And I have also the National American Dental Association phone number if you want to call them and ask them not to contribute any money to Paul Gosar. So we've got 15 minutes of time before our hour's up. Does anybody have anything? Stephanie, anything new on redistricting that you want to?
I have been a little bit out of it this week. I just was doing hospice care and I lost one of my dogs.
Oh,
So I've a little catching up to do, but I did want to just add to the comment about the RTS and system and having limited time. If anybody gets the weekly IR report, that's part of civic engagement beyond voting. They do a real nice job of saying, if you have 15 minutes, here's what you can do. If you have half an hour, here's what you can do. So, because I know time is valuable and, you know, with work and other duties, but that's a real helpful guide of kind of prioritizing what's coming up and what's needed most. So I just wanted to add on to that comment.
that's good. That's good information. And I include that civic engagement beyond voting in my spread to, if you want to get all of that, again, send an email to Democrats of Casa Grande at gmail.com and let us know, and I will include you in that. By the way, I did send Vince Leach an email. I copied some of you on it and asked him if he wanted to chip in on the billboard sign that Pima County's putting up. He hasn't answered yet, so maybe he's considering it. I don't know.
Where's the billboard going, Ralph?
I couldn't pass up the opportunity to try and needle him a little bit.
Maybe we can have a fundraiser and have a pilgrimage to the billboard.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything they'd like to ask about or make a comment?
Actually, I missed the meeting. I couldn't find the link. It's understood. Well, I raised the topic that Dave and others have been pushing to get resources from the state party, both in the form of paid organizers and regional offices in the rural communities, the rural counties. And while there was no firm commitment, there was no disagreement, and there was encouragement in the way of saying, yeah, we're interested in not just a regional office, but regional offices, plural, which was encouraging.
Hasn't the Rural Council actually submitted an official proposal on that?
Yes, we did. Well, we presented it to the chairs. You know, the chairs have their meeting once a month, and it's up to really the chairs to implement it and to run with it. But yeah, the Rural Council, we made a presentation to them.
All right. Well, so our next meeting is March 25th, 6:30 p.m. We're going to be on Zoom again. And we've got two really good speakers. We're going to have two this time. Our Arizona Democratic Party newly elected chairperson, Raquel Tehran, is going to fill us in on what the state party is going to be doing in 2021, moving into 2022. So I'm really excited to hear from her I've known her for a while, and she is really a dynamic person, and I'm looking forward to some good things at the state level. And then we're going to have Kristen Wolf. I read an op-ed, a your turn piece in the Arizona Republic just the other day, written by Kristen Wolf. She's with the Sustainable Water Network, and very much in line with what the Sierra Club's thinking is, and it was about how we need to preserve our waterways, our rivers, our washes, and all of that on a small level. And so I asked her if she would come on. She's got a little slide presentation, PowerPoint presentation she's going to do. So I'm really looking forward to that. So we'll have Raquel Turan and Kristen Wolf with us next time. So again, don't forget, if you want to be an official member of the Democrats of Casa Grande, you get an automatic thank you from us when you do that. Go to the website. It's $20 for the year. And again, we put it to good use. Every penny goes toward electing Democrats and buying wonderful banners and signs that we hope to be able to use in parades in the very near future. So with that, unless anybody's got any questions or points.
Ralph, a news flash just came in that the parliamentarian of the Senate said that Democrats cannot include a minimum wage increase in their COVID relief bill.
Yeah, I saw that before we came on. I didn't
Oh,
want to.
okay. Yeah, I just saw. Yeah.
Stephanie, did you have something too?
Just a quick question. I wanted to know with our fabulous new logos, are we going to have like shirts and caps available to buy soon?
Well, we talked about that, and we can talk about that again. I'm in favor of doing something. We can raise some money with it. So we did talk about it. We looked at it, and I'd like to look at it again. So, Bobby, you had something?
I said last time I would make one call about somebody who might make things like up at T-shirts, like 2 or 3 at a time, and I forgot to do it. So I will do it this week.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anybody else? Thanks everybody for being here. Stay safe for the next month. If you're not vaccinated, get an appointment and get vaccinated. If you are vaccinated, we'll see you at the bar later. And stay safe. And let's stop these Republicans from the craziness. You know, people talk about common ground and unity. I'm talking about let's get them the hell out of office, every single one of them. That's my idea. Thanks everybody. Enjoy.
Thanks, Ralph.